Good morning, everyone. Is anyone else's heart breaking? The past few years has seen the North American church, at least, develop sides at the edges of an ever-widening cavern, with each side looking at the other, wondering what in the world is going on that side thinks it's okay to be over there. COVID seems to have thrown gasoline on the fires that have begun burning over the past few years. And in so many of the circles that I am in, I find people, Christians, looking at previously long-held relationships, communities, and beliefs and wondering, do we even fit together anymore? My heart is broken as I see what the church is going through. I see it in small ways and massive ways, this question of who am I, who are you, where are we going, what's wrong with you? There is no denying that the church is going through a difficult time right now, and we are a part of it. But what do we do? What do we do about the craziness that seems to be descending on everyone right now? We've been able to meet together again for a while now, but there's so much of our lives and the world that just seems like it needs to be figured out still. And some of us might be starting to wonder if it ever will get figured out. Here at Grand Valley, we are doing a short series called Next Steps. And it's a series that hopes to help give us the tools that we need to take the next step in our journeys where they are right now. Brian shared last week about how here at Grand Valley, our mission is leading people into a growing relationship with Jesus. We believe that it is possible and so important to have a relationship with Jesus. And that relationship can and should be a dynamic one that grows throughout our faith journeys. And because we are all on faith journeys, we all have different starting points and different questions that we ask along the way. Part of why we meet together is so that we can grow together. But the time spent meeting together is not the only thing that influences what questions we are asking and who we are becoming. I don't think it will come as a surprise to you to hear me say that what happens in the 45 minutes to an hour on Sunday is insufficient to make a significant difference in the trajectories of our lives. As Brian said last week, the idea of taking ownership of our own spiritual growth is nothing new. In a world that has become so full of content that is thrown at us continually with a variety of motives, it's up to us to be intentional about what we are allowing to form us and lead us. So, in this crazy world, what do we allow to guide us? How do we figure out what our next steps are? I believe that James, who wrote a letter that we find in the second half of the Bible that we call the New Testament, gave advice to his fellow Christians that is extremely relevant to us today. It's in James 1. And he said, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind." I don't know how your individual faith is doing, and whether it has been tested over the past few years or not. It may have been. That's okay. It's normal. You're not alone. Or it may not have been. That's okay. It's normal. You're not alone. But there is this fascinating thing about the way Christianity works in that it's not an individual faith. We live in a very individualistic culture, and we frequently think of our relationship with God as a me and him thing. But there are so many places in the Bible where it's made clear that our relationship with each other actually affects our relationship with God. Yes, there is my faith, but there is actually our faith. And it seems to me that during COVID, our faith has been tested. We have experienced troubles not just individually, but collectively. And it's created a collective testing of our faith, of our relationships, of the church. James follows this portion about troubles coming our way with advice that if we need wisdom to know what to do, we should ask God and he will give it to us. But he also says this: be sure that your faith is in God alone. Years ago, this line used to make me worry. How could I make sure that my faith is in God alone? Does that mean having no doubt whatsoever about God when I ask for wisdom? How can I make sure that I'm not being tossed about like a wave? But when we think of the people that James was writing to, we can understand that he was writing to a culture that had idols, other gods that they believed in, and that they might expect to get them out of any kind of trouble. As I was pondering that thought this week and listening to this scripture repeatedly, I attended a chapel service where the dean of my school was speaking, and in his message he said something that hit me square in the nose. He said that he has been hearing science and freedom spoken of with such reverence as if they will get us out of this mess. Science and freedom spoken of with such reverence as if they will get us out of this mess. It seems that both science and freedom have somehow become such hot-button issues that I have no doubt that there are some here, or at home, who have stiffened at my mere mentioning of them, wondering where I will be going next. Have we been putting our faith in things other than God? My friends, science is helpful in giving us tips what to do, but not in explaining who we are and what and how we are to be. And freedom may be a word that is written in the Bible, but it is not our guiding principle. Neither will save us, and neither will show us the way forward as we are figuring out who we are right now. I'm not saying that we should stop caring about them or other things that we consider to be important, but I'm asking, what are we following? Things have certainly seemed stormy in the world lately. Are we getting tossed about like a wave? Is it possible that individually and corporately, on small scales and large, our loyalties have become divided? Is it possible that we've stopped even asking God for wisdom at all because we are so focused on what is right and who is wrong? Because I have to tell you right now, if there is a secret sauce for Christianity, something that makes it what it isn't the building, it isn't the people, it isn't the relationships or any principles, it's Jesus Christ. And it's surprisingly easy to take the trappings of Christianity to make something nice out of it, but leave out the essential ingredient. We may think we have a religion that gives us a nice framework for our lives, but it's like making soup without using any salt. Something very important is missing. And yes, it is possible to have your life be made better when you use some so-called Christian guidelines and principles in your life. But without the essential part being the essential part, we are going to end up like waves tossed about by the wind. Storms will come, as they have, and we, individually and together, will lack stability.